All right, enough of the off-the-field stuff. Football season is almost underway, and that means fantasy geeks like me are filled with optimism and hope that this will be the year they beat their friends in fantasy football. I am joined by Ian Ritchie, who is the founder of Full-Time Fantasy Sports and Fantasy Football World Championships. Sorry about that. Yeah. This is an interview I've been looking forward to all day. I've already had you check out my team, right?
Yes.
And he's given me a few tips. But let's back it out a little bit because of the popularity of fantasy football. This is something that has grown over the last couple of decades. And I think initially people thought of it as a boys' club, but that's not the case anymore.
Oh, it's not the case. You know, through the last 5 or 6 years or so, it's really grown in popularity. We have a lot of women playing our contest. You know, one of the great things that's happened in our event, we had a woman who's our world champion 2 years ago. She came into a room. She beat all the men. She's one of the top-ranked players in the world. Her name's Kimmer Schleicher. And she's an unbelievable player. And, you know, that hopefully sets an example for other women, right, that they are just as good and they can compete.
Right, and in that case, we're talking about money. A lot of friends get together and it's just for bragging rights or whatever, and sometimes there's a few bucks involved. But a lot of money can be made, right?
You can make a lot of money. Our World Championship event, there's a $150,000 grand prize. There's league prizes. We have lower entry fee contests with $50,000 grand prize. We have a free contest at mockdraftnow.com that has thousands of dollars in prizing. And that's a really fun one. It takes 10 or 15 minutes to draft a team. You're the only one in the draft room, so there's no pressure, there's no clock, no one's making fun of your picks.
The trash talk, in my opinion, is the funnest part of a draft. We do an auction draft, and that's a little different because you actually bid pretend money on these players. You're given a certain amount.
Auction drafts are very exciting. It gets a little loud. Everybody gets engaged quite a bit more.
Yeah. What is the appeal, do you think, of fantasy football?
Well, I think it really just gives you a connection to all the games.
Yeah.
You know, growing up when I was watching football, and a lot of people watch football, you know, you followed your home team.
Yes.
And now, you know, when there's 3 minutes left in a game and it's a blowout, the only people watching are us fantasy folks, right? And we're keeping the NFL ratings in there. We're helping the advertisers out. We're still glued to that TV with a few minutes to go. It just really drives you to hang on every play.
It does. I remember I had a bad beat one time that would have been some money. I had it, and then the running back I had lost yardage on a play, and it was all done. That was the very last play of the game.
Right.
So tell us about, before we talk about some sleepers, and we'll explain what that is, tell us about the events you've got going on.
Well, you know, people fly around from the whole world to come to our event. And we get a lot of everything. You know, people pair up, people see each other. It's like a reunion every year for a lot of the best players in the world. The top-ranked players all fly in. It's where the best players really congregate every year. They all come to Vegas. Who doesn't want to come here? Right. It's a great place to be the first weekend. Like I said, we have a $10,000 entry fee event. We have a $5,000 entry fee event. Our main event is $1,800 entry fee. It's very expensive. You can win hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's very exciting.
Congratulations to you for all your success with what you're doing. All right, let's talk about sleepers. These are the players that aren't on the radar of a lot of people who are in these fantasy leagues. Who are the three that you would say, hey, watch for these people in your draft, and if you can pick them up, do it at a certain time?
Right. One of them I just mentioned a little bit ago. He may be on the waiver wire. Keelan Cole.
Okay.
I think he's a great wide receiver.
I have him on my roster. You were telling me to switch him.
That's right. Put him in your lineup. When Marquise Lee went down for Jacksonville, he becomes a really viable player. He's not drafted in most leagues, and he's probably sitting on the waiver wire, and it's a great sleeper for you to have. If you haven't drafted yet, grab Keelan Cole in the later rounds. A great homer pick for all the Raider fans now here is Carr. You know, he's had a lot of good years. He has one bad year. Everybody jumps off. When people jump off, it's a good time to get back on.
That's right.
Right? It creates value.
It's like the stock market. When everybody's running away, maybe you should run too.
That's exactly. And then one other name not a lot of people know is Josh Doxson from the Washington Redskins. He was highly drafted.
Position?
He's a wide receiver. He's a #1 wide receiver for the Redskins. He was a first-round draft pick. They expect a lot out of him. He was injured. This is a real breakout year opportunity for him. He's not being drafted in a lot of leagues, and if he is, he's going really late. So he's another person that I would target that most people aren't looking at.
All right, you and I could talk for a couple of hours. This is good stuff. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
All right, if you'd like to be in the mix for the fantasy football, the Fantasy Football World Championship, just head over to Palms Casino Resort Sportbook. That starts tonight at 5.